So today's episode, if I had to sum up into one line, would be who am I when I'm not performing for anyone? And some of this is going to be similar to what the last episode touched on, but it's been um, kind of consuming my mind the last week or two. Um, and I think, in my experience, I think most of us don't even know how we got to where we are. It's just somewhere we ended up. And, maybe a handful of things are the way that you wish that they were, but I think I I would wager that the vast majority of us have a bunch of things, you know, thoughts, ideologies, mannerisms, emotions, beliefs, core values, interests, hobbies, things that we enjoy. I think a lot of us, without realizing it, kind of just landed in those things. And maybe they're great, but what would you spend your time doing and who would you spend your time with if there was no fear of rejection or whether or not you would be accepted into a group or a place, um, or an environment that you wished you could be in. And I think this has been getting worse and worse as like social media and mainstream media has kind of like captured the minds of people. And I don't mean that politically. If you don't find yourself somewhere in the center more often than not, then I would bet there's a good chance that you're politically captured by the left or the right. So I don't necessarily mean this politically. I mean this very like broadly, generally. I think all of the noise that all of us experience throughout our existence, they turn into like signals. And the news cycle, whether it's on Instagram or um, like YouTube Reels or TikTok or whatever, or you're watching it on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, NBC, any of the mainstream channels, it it all creates this like false sense of urgency, which makes you feel like you're participating, like you're involved in it. And I mean, it's one thing to be interested in politics and to be curious about it and want to ask questions and do all the deep dives and find the information. And I think that that's valuable if it's something that you actually enjoy or that you get fulfillment from. But if you don't have that, I think it just turns into this like signal of urgency and like requirement for everybody. Like you have to participate in this because if you don't have an ideology or a thought on whatever the latest thing is, then you're either uh, a bigot or you're racist or you're unaccepting, and on the other side of it, you're a snowflake, libtard, um, a useful idiot, and like none of that, none of that shit is helpful. But it's so hard not to be stuck in that. I mean, even simple things like say say an influencer is going through a breakup or there's some drama in whatever sport you're watching, whether it's UFC. So right now a good example for UFC is the White House card came out and we were told that we were going to be blown away, and it's just it's a good card, but it's not what it was led up to be. And now there's all of this drama of, well, how come you didn't get John Jones? Conor McGregor is saying that the negotiations fell through or that they were being shady. Like if you don't have an opinion on it, then you're almost like ostracized or like devalued in that like group of people. You don't have to have an opinion. You always reserve the right to not have an opinion. That's okay. And more often than not, it's probably good to not have an opinion. And there's if you extrapolate that out to all aspects of our life, all of the news that we take in, all of the media we take in, podcasts, short clips, YouTube videos, reels, TikToks, uh, clips from CNN or Fox or the mainstream channels or TMZ or whatever. All of the shit on our Google feed. If you look at the news feed, everything coming in is like static. And when you're in that static, it's so much harder to like just be yourself. You're stuck. You get stuck in like there's all these pressures pushing on you, and you're just trying to like form into the pressure and like just be the least out of the way. And maybe you're not, but I find myself in that a lot, and I think a lot of people do. And I say that because a lot of the people that I have interactions with on a day-to-day basis, um, and I don't mean like close friends that I've known for 10 years. I'm not saying they don't experience it, but I'm talking about like people that I might talk to once or twice in my entire lifetime. They I always get this feeling of like they're not being who they want to be. There's something stopping it. Like every interaction that I have with somebody where you get this, "Hi, how are you? Good, thanks, you." Every time that happens, it's like a circuit breaks in my head. And I do that all the time. I start that interaction or finish that interaction all the time. If you know a way out of that, let me know. Um, but anyways, it all of that stuff puts pressure on you to like flatten yourself and be like shareable. We compress ourselves into these like digestible, postable versions that ultimately become like hollow and interchangeable. Like anybody can do that. Anybody can pretend to be somebody. It's not. It takes away our uniqueness. And a good way to think about this to like analyze where you might be in this, if you're wondering, is imagine you had to wear like a jacket, or the car when you're driving around in your car. You had like NASCAR, like race cars. So you had these decals all over your car, um, or your clothes or whatever. Who would be on that? What names would be on that jacket? What stickers would be there? And then even within that, you that can further separate or segregate or divide or however you want to put it. It can further separate people. Like the simplest analogy that I can think of is like what happens when a person that has like a Gucci bag and is wearing Louis Vuitton runs into a person that's got a Carhartt t-shirt on and Carhartt double knee work pants. Like what does each person think about the other? The Carhartt person probably thinks that the Gucci Louis Vuitton person is uh stuck up or vain, um thinks that their shit don't stink, they're the most important thing, you need to get out of my way because I'm more important than you, I'm more valuable than you. Or they might just assume that that person thinks that you, the Carhartt person, are like a lowly peasant, right? And then the flip side of that is the Louis Vuitton person sees the Carhartt person, and they might think that person is a lowly peasant or a blue collar worker or uneducated or whatever. And the reality is that while those assumptions could be true, like that those two people could be thinking that about each other, they also might not be. The Carhartt person might see the Louis Vuitton jacket and be like, "That jacket's fucking sick," Like I don't want to spend the 2 or 3 grand or whatever to buy it, but that jacket's it's a nice jacket, and the person wearing Louis Vuitton might think, wow, that guy looks comfortable. This jacket, like it looks good, but I'm not comfortable. It's too tight or whatever. Either either way, it's an assumption. They're both assumptions people are making about each other, and that happens with far more than just with Louis Vuitton and Carhartt. There's endless examples of what assumptions people make about others based on appearances. Um, and even with that, there you can find yourself like with like a loss of identity or like signaling to other people through the clothes that you wear. Anyways, back to this like sense of urgency that I think we all feel, because that's kind of like the core pillar, um, or the core piece of what I'm talking about, or what's been occupying my mind, I should say, is everything has become an ad. Everything is just trying to extract dollars, resources from you, whether it's your government or like the best example I have, and I hope they fucking see this. Looking at you, Carpe deodorant. I see ads for Carpe deodorant all the time. And I went to buy it one time from their website. It was a fucking nightmare. The website was like, it was almost like you were on a spam website and you're gonna get a virus. There's fucking shit popping up everywhere, discounts and click this and click that, and you had to buy a pack of it, and it's like I'm not spending that much money on deodorant for I've never used it. And my burden to bear on this is that I kind of assumed that most deodorant companies these days um, don't use aluminum in their deodorant, because why the fuck would we do that in the first place? And I kind of figured that everybody moved on from that. And even on the cap, it says paraben free, phthalate free, or whatever. I happened to be in Target and I seen it, so I bought it because I have a host of skin issues and my skin tends to be pretty sensitive. So I figured I would try it. I get home, I use it. I'm like, oh, this smells good. It works. It works well. And then I was reading the bottle or the stick or whatever, and it's got the main ingredient is aluminum. Like I got. The ads got me. I got fucking fishing line cashed out and hooked me right in the chin. And it pisses me off because everything is just trying to get dollars from you, and it doesn't matter how good the product is. The product could be absolute bullshit. It has to work just well enough for you to not feel like going through the process of trying to return it. I feel like most products these days are just trying to get you to buy it and not return it, and that makes me like clench my fucking jaw. It makes me so irritated. And then social media amplifies all of that because everybody's pushing something. Um, whether it's a good product or not, everybody's pushing something. And on a like a deeper level of that, people are also pushing like moral frameworks or moral identities. And if you aren't sure where you got your morals or your beliefs from, figure that out like as fast as possible. Because if your morals and your beliefs don't come from like your true self, your center and the people around you, and the way that you truly value the world and the people in it, if that's not where your morals, your beliefs come from, or you don't know where they come from, you can't piece it together. You can't figure out why you believe what you do. Figure that out sooner than later. Because if you got it from most outside places, it's probably not good. And even if you got it from who's it good? Say you were listening to an episode of Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson, and he had some whatever psychology guest on, and they were talking about moral frameworks, and you really liked the way that the guy laid it out. That's not a bad place to get it from. But if your moral identity comes from what CNN or Fox News or a random TikToker that has no business talking about moral frameworks, the people that say this is how you should act and they shut the camera off and they go do the exact fucking opposite. Like if it comes from somebody like that, you need to check that. 100%. That's, I think, more valuable than people give it credit for. And also make sure that those the people that you're following to that influence your moral framework are aren't just spewing a narrative, because not it's I think it's fairly common for narratives to take over like factual stories or statements. And narratives are exactly what they are. It's just a narrative. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's If it's not reality, then it's bullshit. Um, a good way to think about that is, do are your um, are your ideals a membership? Like, do you subscribe to them? Really? Do you live them out? Or is it a membership? Is it actually reflective of the way that you carry yourself and the way that you speak to people and the way that you interact with the world? Or is it a membership that you check in when you need it? When you need the high ground or a superiority, or when you need to virtue signal or prove somebody wrong, or inaccurate or whatever. Is that when you like check into the membership? Like, do you live that outside of those moments? And if you don't, I would argue that's a problem. You're not living truly the way that you're not living your life honestly, and that shit wears on you 100%. Eventually you turn into this hollow person, and years go by before you catch it, and then all of a sudden you're like, how did I get here? Back to the beginning of this. How did you end up where you are? And was it intentional? If it wasn't intentional, then you need to pay attention. You have got to lock it in, because if you don't, then another 20 years will go by and you'll just end up somewhere unintentionally, and there's no telling whether or not that's good or bad. Now, I'm not saying you need to be, strict, rigid, 100% disciplined, fucking Jocko Willink and David Goggins screaming in your ears and get it done, do it, do it tired, do it broke, do it sad, do it all the time, gotta be perfect, 100%. I'm not saying that, but you need to be like 80% that. And they don't need to be screaming in your ears. You don't need to listen to a David Goggins motivational thing every morning, unless that helps you. But you do need to be intentional with the decisions you make and the things that you do, the products you buy, who you support, what you don't support, where your beliefs come from, where your moral compass guides you. All of that needs to be intentional. If it's not, then you just get fucking hijacked by whatever belief system grabs you. You just get hijacked by it, and that just becomes who you are. And then years go by, and you're like, why the fuck am I here? Why did I do any of the things I did in the last 10 years? So where where I struggle with this, where where I have a hard time taking the mask off, is in my discipline and my, like, I don't want to say like physical health, but like I am widely regarded as like the guy that tracks his food and goes to the gym. You know, the guy that's he's fucking jacked and he's getting it together. Uh, I have a hard time taking that mask off because it feels good to be referred to as the guy that's disciplined or tracks his food and is consistent in the gym. But in reality, I, while the last 2 weeks I have been consistent with tracking food and going to the gym, for the last year and a half, I have not. And I'm going to cover this in the next episode. But at my most, I don't want to say my most health, like the most health or the healthiest that I've been, because that's, you can argue a couple of different things there. But where I was, when I was the most happy with my physique, I was absolutely disciplined with food and with working out. And I was down to, at 6'2", I was down to 209 pounds. It's the lowest I've been in 10 years. And I was happy with, well, at the time I wasn't happy with where I was. Now looking at it, I'm like, holy shit, I was, I was doing good. I had it locked in back then. Nowadays I'm 240 pounds. And while I've been consistent the last 2 weeks, if you go outside of that, I might have gone to the gym 2 or 3 times a month. And I didn't track anything. I just ate kind of whatever because pizza's always good, right? Pizza's my kryptonite. Pizza and sweets. Um, but I have a hard time taking that mask off because it feels good, and it also internally it feels bad. It feels good outwardly to be referenced as that guy, and it feels bad inwardly because I know that it's a lie, and I don't want to say, "Oh, actually, um, I don't go to the gym anymore. I've actually gained 30 pounds from my lowest." So, please don't call me that. I'm not the gym bro. I'm not the food tracker. Like, I'm not that guy anymore. You know. And while the aim is to get back to that point, I know that guy is inside of me. I don't say I'm not that guy anymore like he's dead and gone and I'm never getting it back. I say that because that's not where I am anymore. It just isn't. But I know I've done it before, so I know I can do it again. And if you've ever found yourself like regressing backwards, that's the best way that I can think of to frame it is if you've been there before, then you know you can do it. You just got to get to work. And to summarize kind of everything that I've said, I'm going to do my best here. Um, or I did my best here. I'm reading the writing. I'm not, this is, this isn't me on the fly, just heads up. The, the, the core principle, a lot of what we call identity is actually outsourced to algorithms, tribes, and marketing. So we end up performing a version of ourselves that's easy to recognize, easy to sell to, and easy to recruit, but hard to live inside. Imagine you're driving a car that you own, but somewhere along the way, you let a crowd install a remote control kit. Every ad, headline, and hot take is a tiny input on the joystick. The dash is lit up with urgent warnings to keep you gripping the wheel. The car gets wrapped in sponsor decals so everyone knows which team you're on. And after a while, you forget what it feels like to drive by your compass because you're mostly reacting to signals. What I aim to do here is to take the wheel back, scrape off the decals that I didn't choose, turn down the noise, and decide who I am when nobody's watching. That's the goal. And I hope that's yours too.